Hello, I'm Dr. Lisa, and I will be your facilitator today. So let's talk about ROAR a little bit. So ROAR stands for being basically a radical ally for yourself. Your radically orgasmically alive reality. And while living your ROAR is the name of my business, the ROAR technique itself is what I'm going to demonstrate today. And basically somebody's energy, one of you people on this Zoom screen, as I scroll through the 2 pages of people, thank you for being here, will pop out somehow energetically to be the demonstration. You could say no, you could say yes, whatever you would like. And I'm going to facilitate what the ROAR technique actually is and how to do it. And essentially, what I found out for myself, because this is how I walked myself out of my own cages, is learning that the density and the heaviness around me and on me was like this invisible cage that I walked around this reality with. And it had a very particular target. The target was for me not to exist, for me not to be powerful, for me not to be potent, and for me to stay in the tragedy, the trauma, and the story of my past, even though it's 20, 30, 40 years later. And then at some point in my life, I had had enough, and I was going to find out whatever I needed to find out to unlock myself from that cage, because I knew from all the education, all the training, all the therapy, all the energy healing techniques, that something else was possible than what I was literally feeling and being in my life. I just didn't know how to get there. And then one day, every Tuesday, I used to do a radio show online called Beyond Abuse, Beyond Anything, Beyond Therapy, Beyond Abuse, Beyond Anything. And was on Voice America, Empowerment Radio. And every topic and every show was created through and from my own experience. And it was particularly geared toward moving beyond and healing abuses, tragedies, traumas, limitations, and constrictions that were self-inflicted. Today's word would be, the self-gaslighter, okay? And how basically our abuses and our past and our stories from what we refuse to let go of and refuse in a certain way to ever think we could be whole again, I really wanted to put something forward in the world that let us all know, myself included, that no matter what our story is, no matter what our tragedies are, no matter what our traumas are, it's never too late to change your past in the present, right now, and most particularly, that none of that stuff from the past has to define you other than if you define you by it. So I wanted to create something, and I started with that radio show where it defied the psychological nomenclature about how long you'd have to suffer and never thrive if you were a victim of X, Y, and Z. I didn't want to live by that rule. It didn't fit for me. I knew something else was possible. And then the cage of abuse came to me. Literally, it just came out of the blue, asking in like the spaced in exercise Celine guided you in. And I made it a radio show called the 4Ds. Which is the cage. The 4Ds is that invisible cage that lives on you like a cage. It's like you wear it and bring it into every part of your life. And at the same time, it has one target, you not to exist, period. You deny you defend against being you become somebody else, you dissociate from your body and from your life, and you disconnect from the very essence of you. And essentially, you've heard this a lot in the world. My life stopped when this happened. My life stopped when that happened. I had that. And I decided that lives didn't have to stop just because something not very nice and yucky and horrible and mean and terrible and awful occurred. That the being I am and the being I was, even before the tragedy or the trauma or the event, is still the being I am now. And how was I to go about living that way when it felt so different? So the cage came to me. And once I started to ask questions about what is this density, this weight on me, this heaviness, the 4Ds started coming up in the cage: denying, defending, dissociating, disconnecting. And hopefully you can see this, my whiteboard. 1 second for prop movement. A little stuck here. There we go. I think that's a little better.
Yeah, you're gonna have to lower your screen a bit or put that higher.
Okay.
Please.
Well, I don't know if I can do it right now. Let me see. Talk amongst yourselves. Get a sip of water. How's that?
If it's the highest you can, then yes, you're gonna have to write a bit higher, but yeah. Here we go. That's awesome, like that.
Oh my God. And I already did kickboxing today.
Double workout. Yay!
Yay. All right. So it's a little lopsided. I'm not sure why, but I won't worry about that. So I'm basically, and you could draw this out on yourself. This is my representation of a cage. I don't know why, but this is what came to me. This red is going to be a little clearer to see. So this is the cage that weighs on our body. It's invisible. You can't see it, but you carry it around. And in the cage that holds it together are the 4Ds. D, 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 D. Denial, defending, dissociating, disconnecting. And you're in the middle here. You're in all of this. And you're wearing this as you go forward in your life. But you're also embodying it as you deal with everything in your life. So you're actualizing your life from this cage, which the purpose of is just not to exist, period. Now you might be like, well, what do you mean? I'm here, I'm living, I'm existing. Well, truth. How much are you really living and how much are you really existing? Most of us only exist, 10% of what we could actually be. If we're lucky, 30, 40%. And if we really are demanding, we get to 50, 60% and we keep going from there. Everybody's different. I don't know what yours will be, but I know this. If you're stuck in something and making lateral moves, changes, but not transcending something, you might have a cage locked on top of you, or a few of them that you could benefit by having them undone. And this is just to introduce you to it. I'm going to do one demo here. You're welcome to walk yourself through it while you watch and witness. There is a class, my specialty class on the roar technique coming up at the end of June that you're welcome to attend. It is its own certification course, and you get to learn how to be a roar practitioner. And now is a good time if you're looking for alternative and different revenue streams, because it's something you can do online, just like what I'm doing. And you don't have to wear a mask and you don't have to touch another person, even though, well, that's a whole other story. So here's the cage: denial, defending, dissociating, and disconnecting. And you are in the middle, wearing it, actualizing from your life from it without even knowing why or how. And I'm going to show you the why and the how. And essentially, it's all your limitations are locked in here. All your judgments, all your decisions that you made less than 7 years of age that you're acting on, that you don't even know you're acting on, but you kind of know you're acting on. All the stuff you keep saying, well, it's 40 years ago. I don't want to go back there. Well, you know what? I'm going to show you how to go back there in like 6 to 10 minutes and undo stuff that has been plaguing you for 40 years. So I don't know about you, but if I spend 6 or 7 minutes or 10 minutes in my past to undo something that's been plaguing me and making me walk around the world with like missing parts of a manual to how life and the easiness of life can be, I'd be willing to spend 6 to 10 minutes going to my past for that. It's all the secret and hidden obligations and prejudices about yourself that are hidden in here. It's all the things that you feel like you gave up, perhaps are defeated by. It's all the I can'ts. No matter how hard I try, nothing ever works for me, but everybody else has it so easy. You know that? I'm sure you never thought that, because I never did either. And not only that, it's parts of you actually that's separated from you. And you can actually commune with those parts again and bring them back into the present with you. And again, remember what I said, when I went in my 20s to different therapists and psychologists and things like that to work on my trauma, which was significant, they basically told me over and over and over again what never felt right to me, that the best I could do was survive, and that I would always have to be on alert for my post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, I wasn't going to have that. That is not the life that I wanted to live. I did not choose to be beaten emotionally, physically, energetically, psychically, or raped sexually multiple times, or abused in the multiple ways that I was. Those weren't my choices back in that age at 3, at 4, at 5. And so I was not going to carry those perpetrators in my life or in my body or anything that limited me from actualizing who I was. So I developed, and this technique came to me from that choice. And it started with the 4 Ds: denial, defending, dissociating, disconnecting. And I had to face and turn back and look. And then I created a technique that demystifies you having to face and turn back and look at your past and be nervous about getting stuck in the story. That's a lie. You'll watch when I do this. There's no stuck in anything. There's getting in and there's getting out and getting free. So that's what we're going to do together here. This is about communion. This is not about separation. This is about embracing what's actually true, not avoiding. This is about examining and asking questions and looking in so that you can be here today and making the contribution to the planet that you actually are. And truthfully, why, there's a lot more things that are in here, but those are the basic parts, the I can'ts. And there's a lot of beliefs in here. Feels important to mention. There are a lot of beliefs in here that don't serve you anymore. Things like being unworthy or unlovable or undeserving or unimportant or not mattering, feeling evil or ashamed or a mistake or bad, or sensing that you're no one and nobody or nothing. Believe it or not, after 25 years plus now of working with people in the mental health field, through different modalities, access consciousness, theta healing, through my licenses and doctorate, through other different modalities that I also have and have been educated by, there's only like 11 or 12 beliefs that I've seen in every country, in every language, on every person that I've facilitated. And it comes up in the cage. And then we undo it. And then you get free. Okay? So, what we have to do with the cage is identify where you are in here and what age you decided, whatever it is that you decided. And I'll do it in the demo. And the point then is, while you're in the cage and speaking about it, and I'll draw it all out for you to see it, then you start what I call the 4 E's. And I'm just going to watch them, write them right here. And this is all in my book, Radically Alive Beyond Abuse. I just, when the COVID started, I just did my first book club on that. So you're welcome to take a look at that and hear me specifically go over every chapter and extrapolate from that. And I think it was like $25 or something like that for the 9 days of an hour with me. So that's a possibility. Radically Alive Beyond Abuse. But the 4 E's, basically you have to embrace whatever's going on that is fucking up your life today. You got to look at it, which means to examine and ask questions. And by embracing and examining all of this, not the fun stuff, but I make it fun because I'm irreverent and a New Yorker, and that's just what we do. And then once you embrace and examine how you got to this no existence, you start to then embody and expand into the you that you actually are, that you've always been without the cage. And then you'll sense this cage lifting off of you in a way that you're like, oh, that's what everybody's talking about, about living free in my body, molecules. And then why do you do this? You do it for this. Because once you get the D's and the E's, no, it's not in alphabetical order because I told you I'm irreverent. You then live as the C's, the 4 C's. I know there's a glare, which is to choose, commit, collaborate, and create. That is who you are today, regardless of your past, regardless of your tragedy, regardless of your trauma, regardless of what happened to you as a child, regardless of the divorce you just got, regardless of the furloughed or job layoff you just got, regardless of who loves you or who doesn't love you, regardless of your past choices, you still get to live as a radical ally for yourself. In radical aliveness, choosing for you, committing to you, collaborating with the universe, conspiring to bless you, and creating from there. And thank you for your kind words, everybody. So if you want to know a little bit more about choosing for you, there's a monthly call that I do. It's free, and it's on my event page on drlisacooney.com. You're welcome to sign up for that.